about 4,000 cubic yards of sediment from the riverbed and an outfall site. There has been extensive testing done. There have been extensive studies done. They have compared marine life in the river at the GM area to other areas in the Hudson River, and they have determined what the cleanup should be based upon the results of those studies. I do hope you'll all come out on March 22nd, and I do hope that you will ask questions based upon the information that's presented by the DEC Manor. Thank you.
Do I have time to ask that? I just want to address one statement that Mr. Bedell made, is that he hopes the cleanup is not done for the timetable of the developer. As Trustee Wompa told you, this cleanup is per the DEC's plan that has been outlined on the website. A developer has not even yet been named. So the DEC's plan was developed by the DEC based upon its own standards and criteria set by state and federal law. And additionally, the village has hired an environmental engineer to oversee the DEC's cleanup to ensure it's pursuant to the plan. And the Department of Health will also be involved in the oversight of this cleanup. So I am confident that the cleanup will be pursuant to New York State standards and federal standards.
You have 30 seconds.
The Department of Environmental Conservation is understaffed. The Department of Health is really not active in this, I'm sorry. They don't have the personnel to do it. The real question is, will you get this waste out of the village on the railroad tracks the way it was done before, when we had to clean up the very hard toxic waste site? And that's what has to be negotiated now with the DEC on the 22nd. That is not a state standard, that is this village's standard. And if the trustees don't make it happen, it'll come up through the village on Continental Street or on Palmer Avenue.
Okay.
Or Beekman Avenue.
Since you responded first, you have 1 minute to.
I'm just going to make one further brief statement about this, is that I'm sure the east parcel will come up in later questions, but one part of the special permit specifies that the village of Sleepy Hollow will, in addition to many other things, be in charge of removing the cap on the east parcel, the methane scarification, which was the DEC's and GM's chosen way of remediating the old village dump site. At the same time, the village now has this independence to manage the development of the east parcel. So there's this question of what will the use be? If we're going to use this independence now to do something different than GM would have done, what will the cleanup be? That is another important way to look at this when we're talking with the DEC. And the village should act quickly in deciding whether we will in fact do anything different from what GM was, since we've made some exchanges in order to get this. And thank you.
How much time do we have on? That's it. That's all a minute?
No, there's 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds left.
No, 1 minute.
We had a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute.
Okay, you have a minute. You can use some extra time in the future.
There's a timer over here if you want to look at the, yeah.
Hi, Dr. Robinson. It's nice to finally meet you. I want to answer this on a non-technical level, and I think I should point out that none of the candidates are environmental experts, although some of us are struggling quite hard to sound like experts. We're not. That's why the village hired an environmental expert that actually Dr. Robinson, I believe, agrees with the level of expertise this person has. And the appropriate thing for the village to do is to rely on the advice of this expert. I know that the village's expert, the goal and the reason for hiring that expert is to make sure the DEC's plan does what it's supposed to do, that it is designed to protect human life and the environment, and that the plan meets Sleepy Hollow's needs as well, our residents. The village's expert evaluation is going to be presented, I understand, at the March 22nd hearing. I'd like to point out that one of the DEC criteria is community acceptance of the plan. One of the criteria. So it's very important. If we don't think it's a good plan, that we show up
That's it?
and we say it. Thanks.
Okay, next questioner. Boy, what is it? Yes, ma'am. Stand up and say your name.
Barbara Reiser at Sleepy Hollow Manor. Where is this soil taken and how is it disposed of? Number one. And number two question, the Casualty Bridge. Where in the village is that, the new bridge to be built?
Are you addressing that to which side?
Whoever wants to answer.
Since you guys went first last time, I want to say
Well, this, I'm sorry, at Kendall, we just sat, so. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but I do know that there are repositories for contaminated soil, and that is vigorously overseen, and maybe it's Robin's, if I continue. I do know that there are specific places where they do take soil, and that it's monitored very, very closely where it's brought so that it cannot be used for fill in the future. And your second question was the Tappan Zee Bridge. The Tappan Zee Bridge, they're going to be building another bridge just north of the existing bridge, and then the exits and the entrances to the bridge will feed back into the current roadways there.
And no one knows that where the key is or that area?
It'll be where the key is. It'll be further north by where the key is, but again, it will not be interrupting the keys from what I understand, but it will be feeding back into the existing roadways. 287.
Okay, any other responses? Okay, you guys? David's got a clock up there, so you
Yeah.
can see it visually.
Okay, thank you. Very nice. The hazardous waste issue, I think Karen answered correctly. That's a sort of a technical issue. We can ask for how it's transported, but where it goes is a regulated system. The bridge is a very interesting issue. EAC member Adrian Berezowski and village historian Henry Steiner and I helped the mayor request that Sleepy Hollow be involved in the project. And I don't know at this time whether the village is going to submit comments. The deadline luckily has been extended to the end of this month. And the new bridge, well, what looks like the new bridge will be built north of the existing one, which means it will be closer and louder to us, and louder. And as you've read in the papers, it will not have mass transit built in. And I understand the economic situation, but they should design the entire corridor and then build it in phases. That's the proper way to do it. And what they're doing now is they've segmented. You can't design a transportation corridor without designing a transportation corridor. They are not going to build a bridge that will not preclude transport. And these are very important issues that Sleepy Hollow should assert itself and be more involved in, because we have visual impacts and traffic impacts.
Yes. One of the things, we spoke passionately about in our campaign is the need for, in order to get more done in this village, because we face greater issues, is to assemble committees or initiatives around particular issues. The Tappan Zee Bridge is exactly the opportunity to take qualified engineers and other resources that we have in the community to have a collective and stronger, consistent voice when it comes to these developments. So let's pool our resources on top of the people we're paying as experts necessarily for certain issues, and let's get the voice of the people, the qualified people of this village, to be able to help the board stay on top of issues, get more involved, be consistent, be strong, and have a collective voice. Thank you.
Okay, do you have a 30-second follow-up question? You don't have to. You ask the question, you have a follow-up. No? No, okay. There was another hand back there? Yes, this one. Name, go ahead, name and address.
Michelle Gonzalez, 16. I'm also on the board of trustees for Warren Library, and we've submitted to the board, approved and submitted, a 2.5% less budget from last year. And basically, I'd like to know from each of the candidates where they stand in supporting the library.
Okay, that was addressed to each of the candidates again. Do you care which party goes first?
Nope.
Okay, well, since you went first the last time, right? I guess which one? We've got 2 minutes for the sign, so.
This came up at Kendall, and for me, I view libraries as kind of the pinnacle of civilization. I mean, back to Greek and Roman times, it was the highlight of their societies was creating a space where people can gather and share knowledge. And my support of the library right now is I go there regularly. It's where I spend my time. I get books, I get movies, and I unequivocally support the library. I think they should work to get within targets, but I think we can work with them, with our grant writers in both Tarrytown and City Hall, to find ways to create cost savings that way. And I'll reiterate what I said last time. I don't think we should be playing hardball with the library, because it's used by a lot of low-income residents in our village. It's a necessary resource, especially for when we have power outages and things like that.
if the library is making a good faith effort to control its budget in difficult times, that's absolutely the right way to go. And the village, if that's the case, and the village can see it, then the village should fund the library as properly. I strongly support the library.
You've got 45.
Yeah, just briefly, I think we all here support the library, and I would, if times are so tough where budget really becomes that much of an issue, I'd like to work with the library and try and come up with maybe creative ways of finding additional financing, if we can't do it from tax dollars. So I think we agree that it's a cornerstone of the village. We have to make it work. It's a matter of putting our minds together and finding a way to make it work.
Okay, sign it. Who wants to go first?
I think everybody's going to get up and say they support the library. I thoroughly support the library. I'm somebody who refuses to buy a Kindle. I bring my children to the library. They, story hour, they just go there to play. We read to them every night. It's very important. It's a community meeting space. It provides great services and information to the community. It is also the third largest line on the budget. And my understanding is the biggest concern is that Sleepy Hollow has to pay proportionate to the number of persons the library serves, but we didn't have necessarily a say in the library. Tarrytown had a lot of power over the library and its resources. I believe that's been remediated, and you're a testament to that. You're on the board. You are Sleepy Hollow's voice. Congratulations. I know you've just been promoted up through the ranks of the board and now have control. And it's great that we have this representation from Sleepy Hollow on board. But again, there's a lot of services to pay in the village, and whatever funds you ask for, we would hope that you would be able to justify.
Good answer. Good answer.
Basically the same thing that Jennifer said. We have a contractual arrangement with Tarrytown where we pay our portion of the budget based upon population, and over the last several years we've been increasing our payments to where it is now, which is 47% of the budget is paid by Sleepy Hollow. And again, as Jennifer said, we just wanted to be involved in the budget process. We wanted to have a voice at the table, and we do have that now. So we will continue to support the Manor Library. It's an extremely important resource in this village and provides a lot of services to our children and our older population.
I feel this is a speed answer. Of course, I support the library. I'm a regular user. I think it's terrific that you tightened your budget and brought it down by 2% in these tough times, so congratulations on that. The library is a terrific resource, and I'm sure it's not going anywhere if any of us have anything to do with it. Thanks.
Do you have a follow-up question?
No, I'm happy to hear that they all support the library, and that they are working hand in glove with the village to keep the costs down. So if we can all continue to work together, that'd be wonderful.
Okay. Next person? Yes, sir.
I'd like to address this question to Mr. Roach. Mr. Roach, you state that you have lived in Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow for 3 years.
About 3 years, yeah.
We're two separate villages, separate issues and agendas. And you are running to be a trustee for Sleepy Hollow. How long have you lived in Sleepy Hollow?
Okay, by the way, you needed to state your name and address.
Oh,
too.
Wolfgang Strabel, Sleepy Hollow. Philipese Manor.
Wolfgang, thank you. Yes, I've lived in Sleepy Hollow for probably about 8 or 9 months now. And I moved, let's see, probably less than 200 feet to get to Sleepy Hollow. So, this whole Tarrytown Sleepy Hollow thing, if you want to get into it. We are two separate villages, of course. We should be working together more. We share a school district already. I think we should be having quarterly meetings with Tarrytown to discuss our capital purchases. So if there's any overlap, we can talk about sharing. I think it's ridiculous that we sit behind a dais and kind of argue with Tarrytown instead of sitting down at the table with them. Their residents come here, our residents go there. I really don't think it's an issue that I live, 200 feet south in Tarrytown. So, and I think it gives me a better appreciation for their issues and what they're dealing with. I've talked with many board members in that village as well, and I look forward to working with them if I'm elected.
Okay.
Can I
Wait. Wait,
get a response?
yes, you got a response time.
Okay.
I don't know, I've never sat behind my dais and had an argument with Tarrytown, so I'm not quite sure where he gets that picture from. Basically, we do work with Tarrytown. We have tried to work with Tarrytown. Tarrytown has taken it upon themselves to bring a lawsuit against us for development of the GM site. We have approached Tarrytown on other projects. I approached Tarrytown for the Moore School project and asked them if they would like to be a part of it, and they said that their board would not financially support the Moore Park, and I was really just asking for a bench or something for our children, and we do share a school district, and I pointed that out to them, but at the time when I wanted to fix up the park, they didn't seem to think so. So as much as we would love to work with Tarrytown, every time we put a hand out across to them to try to work together on some project or something, including the PEG station, which we have been in conversation with now for a number of months, and they will not give additional funds to creating a PEG station either. The communication, the mutual agreement is not always there. So we are trying, and I would love for it to move forward with Tarrytown, but we are two villages, and our responsibility is to this village. So.
Okay, do you have a follow-up on that? 30 seconds for a follow-up?
No, not really.
Follow-up? Okay.
I was going to
Well, he didn't have a follow-up. but,
Okay, no
you
problem.
know,
Is there a
so,
rebuttal for that?
no, he had the question, she had the rebuttal. So we'll move on to the next one. You can spend some time. You had extra time if you wanted to address other issues. So be careful with the clock. If you want to address, other issues when you still have time, you can. Okay, another question. Yes, sir.
Could you speak to the dissolution of Sleepy Hollow, possibly just merging with Tarrytown? The duplication across police, fire, every service I can imagine. I cannot see that there are economies in that. If we pull them together, I can't see that we can save a great deal of money. What's your feeling about that?
Okay. Name and address.
Tim Murphy, Sleepy Hollow Manor.
And you care which side to answer that first? No?
Tim, I think that's a great idea. And you know what I think we should do? I think maybe you should start a committee, and we should start looking at this. And if I'm elected, I think what we should be doing more of is putting these things on the ballot. We should have referendum and, say, look, should we pursue this idea? I don't think it's the village's responsibility to spend money on it right now, but if it's the will of the people, that they want to look at that, and I do think it would be a way to reduce redundancies. Let's bring it to a vote. That's the democratic way to go about things.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Sean briefly. It's the kind of thing where, I think we're of the mindset that, residents don't have bad ideas. So if you have an idea like that, that's something that's been looked at for probably 70 or 80 years, not more. So it's not a new issue, but it's something that needs to be looked at. There's a lot of, information needs to be gathered. Our approach is that if you're interested in it, let's start looking at it. Let's get a study group together, let's get a group together, and pool free resources. Let's start with that, which is the qualified, intelligent, passionate people of the village, and start to work with that. And I'll just speak briefly to Tarrytown to involve them. I think what you just heard from Ms. Wompa is a very negative approach to Tarrytown. It's one they always have, and I think the failure to maybe shake hands is because we're constantly pointing fingers. So I think the inability to come to agreements on things, at some point you need to start looking at the leadership and the inability of some people to maybe negotiate in a creative or a different way. Thank you.
Gosh, I hadn't really thought about dissolution quite yet. I will say this, is that the fact that we're in two different taxing jurisdictions for the school district is a huge problem.
Yeah.
By my rough math, Sleepy Hollow, we pay 20% more for the same, for the same education. And that, I don't know how we solve that. It falls between bureaucratic, borders. But I would love to hear ideas about how we can come, and how we can fix that.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. I think in these tough economic times, everything should be considered. If there's a way to increase economies of scale by sharing services, absolutely. I think the merger of the two towns would be something maybe we could build up to eventually. Right now, I'd like to see us share services like parks and recreation. perhaps share some more DPW type services. We're already sharing a school board. What about our water supply? That's something that we're working on diligently now, trying to increase our water supply. Whether it's with Terrytown or whether it's with moving certain services up to the county level, I think everything has to be on the table if we're going to continue to keep our taxes in check like the current administration has been doing for the past several years.
And Jennifer, I agree that everything should be considered, nothing should be left off the table. We should be looking to leverage off of existing infrastructure or services, but not that in a way that will compromise the services. So either we, as Susan said, share with Tarrytown, we raise it to the county level, fine, should be considered, not at the expense of the services that we are being provided. But I, for one, do not want to merge with Tarrytown. I'm running for village trustee because I love the village of Sleepy Hollow, and I want to see it remain Sleepy Hollow, and I'd like to see it thrive and move forward and grow and be robust and vibrant and sustainable for many generations to come. I moved back here because I love it, and I'm not going to turn it into Tarrytown. Actually, to add on to what was potentially on,
I mean, my feeling is not so much merging with Tarrytown, but my feeling is really that I think things that we're responsible for should be brought up to the county level. I mean, I think, you know, that we're constantly looking, for example, our water supply. Right now, we're in a position where we need to build a new water reservoir tank. And here you have Tarrytown has their water, Briarcliff has their water, we have our water. And when you have these huge infrastructure projects, which many of us on the board do not have expertise in this, it should be brought up to county level. Thank you.
Okay, but you have 30 seconds for follow-up.
How do you feel about Kingsland Point Park?